And there's people like Glenn Greenwald or Edward Snowden in a lesser extent because he's on the run and hiding, that become huge celebrities because of information that they release to people. Like Greenwald, even though I know they harass him and they've harassed his boyfriend, they detained his boyfriend in England, but the bottom line is that guy became super famous because of this. So it's a positive thing.
Well, think of how he changed the world. I mean, I had a lot of people right when the story broke say, this is no big deal, nothing we haven't heard, all this kind of stuff. They're not saying that now. Even John Kerry, the president, all these people have come out and said things that, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe we should be having this discussion. It's really changed the world. All this stuff we're talking about now with the NSA, that's all Edward Snowden stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing that one guy can have that kind of impact. And in the future, when they look back on today, and I think historically, he's getting swept under the rug, and what he's done and the impact of it is just sort of getting ignored by the media. And more they paint him as this controversial figure. More and more they paint him as this guy on the run from the NSA. But there's no support of him, like in anything mainstream. Right. There's no support of what he did or who he is, there's no call to action for the government to release this guy, that he's actually a patriot, that he's actually is looking out for the true American way and is exposing people to people, not the America, but people in America that are making a huge mistake, and they're doing it for the name of America. And whether or not they think it's right or wrong, ultimately we don't think it's right. And ultimately finding out about it pissed the entire world off. Right. That's the facts. So if the government was really representing the people, they would look at it in terms of like, what do all the intelligent people who've reviewed this think? Yeah, it's a travesty. It's a fuck up. It's anti-American. The idea of it is ridiculous. And the idea this is the only way you can control security is by spying on every fucking person. Well, then the terrorists have won. I mean, that's a victory, because that's terror for everybody. That's no privacy. That's weirdness. That's employees like Snowden, who they kept going on and on about how he failed high school. High school dropout. High school dropout that could read my email, man. Yeah, high school dropout.
Yeah, that just makes you look worse. You gave the passcode to that high school dropout?
What the fuck? Why are you goofing on him? You hired him. It's ridiculous. You fucking hired that guy to watch everybody's email.
But think of how, you were talking about one person, just one guy, but think about how much that same attitude scares the government. One of their many, many, many thousands of workers was able to do that.
Yeah.
That's scary on the whole opposite side. You know what it is, too? I think we're dealing with a bit of a – and this is kind of gets them a little off the hook. I think you have a bubble mentality in in life. You have them in professions. Scientists get it. Unions get it. Bureaucracies get it. The Army gets it. The police gets it. Where people get promoted. These guys all get promoted to the top NSA positions because they're better at spying. They figure out better ways to get around defenses and all that. They don't get promoted to that special room where there's 5 or 6 of them making policy because they did a better job of finding a Fourth Amendment that doesn't let them spy.
Yeah.
So when they're in the room, they all see the world the same way. So you tend, and this happens, like I said, in every profession, they tend to push each other forward because there's no devil's advocate there saying, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't use every power we have to spy as much as we can. To those people, you see these NSA guys testifying in front of Congress, and they don't even hide how mad they are at us, how mad they are that this is even known, how mad that they have to be there, how mad you're questioning them. And it's because there's nobody in the room saying, guys, we shouldn't do this. And really, to be honest, there's no obvious line where you should call the dogs off, where you should say, hey, maybe this is okay, but that's not okay. That does not happen. They talk about the Fourth Amendment, but then the other guy goes, well, we're not really violating the Fourth Amendment if we just take everybody's trash cans and we keep it in a storage locker with their name on it. We're only violating it if we actually search through their trash, which we'll do later if we have to. And then everything's on the kosher up and up. If J. Edgar Hoover wants to search Joe Rogan's trash for evidence of illegal activity, you're going to have to send a physical agent out there to do that. Now we just collect the trash on trash day, bring it to the NSA headquarters, dump it in there, and we'll sift through it later if we have to.
Yeah, they could essentially tune in on anybody, anywhere in the world now.
With a flip of a switch.
Yeah, and that kind of power is awesome if you guys are super enlightened monks that are designed to save the world.
But the U.S. government. Right, exactly.
But if you're a regular person, you can't have that kind of juice. Regular person just can't have autonomy over all these people's information.
What if Richard Nixon had it? That's what I always say.
Oh, God.
And you think you're not going to get another one of those?
Dude, what if Dick Cheney had it?
He did have it.
Did he have it?
Yeah.
You think so?
Absolutely. He put it into place, man.
So they were accessing everybody's emails as far back
this
as
all
like,
goes. Yeah, there's a book
incredible.
called The 1% Doctrine where they talk about how after the 9/11 attacks, the rule that they decided, and mainly because of Dick Cheney, to operate under was if there's even a 1% chance of another 9/11 happening, anything is fair. You can do anything to justify it. And I think what their attitude is on 9/12/2002, everybody would have said, oh, yeah, okay, whatever it takes, man. Don't let that happen again. When it was still fresh in our minds.
Right. Yeah, there was a weird moment after 9/11 where I remember driving to school, or to work, rather, and driving to school. As I was driving to work, it was early in the morning, and all the commuters were going, and everybody had a flag on their car. Yeah, everybody had it, and it was weird. It was a weird feeling. It wasn't just a. It was like everybody was reminding everybody.
How long did that last, too? Because I'm thinking, I just said 2002, and everybody's going to go, Dan, don't you know the 9/11 attacks happened in 2001? But a year later, that was still an open wound. And so how long, when do you think, if you had to guess, when did it start to wear off and we started to normalize? I mean, New York City is exempt because I don't think they ever re-normalized, but for the rest of the country, how long do you think it took to get over that PTSD?
I think it took a few years, 2 or 3 years, something like that.
I give even more. I give like Bush because I mean Bush being reelected made no fucking sense under any point of view other than part of the 9/11 boost that he got for a while.
Well, it was also the real problem with the voting machines. There's the real openly reported problem with those Diebold machines. And
how about the candidate he ran against? That's always the first thing.
That's also a good point.
If you're running against John F. Kennedy, you lose that election, but you're not. You're running against a guy. You just go, oh, really? That's my option?
Right.
That's what kills you.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people felt like the Al Gore election that got Bush into office in the first place was tainted.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
There's so much fuckery involved in voting, man, like real open fuckery that should be like, really, it's treason. Yeah. It's treasonous behavior. And these people openly do it in order to help their candidates win. I mean, it's one of the most un-American things of all time, manipulating the vote like that.
Yeah. I think somebody who was a political operative would say to you that it's one of the most American things of all time because it's been going on. I mean, George Washington's giving hard cider to people, when they come to his little parties to get. I mean, this is right. The problem is that and we've talked about this before. I think there's a certain amount of this that a healthy society and a healthy political system can suck up and still be okay. There's a certain tipping point where you're not that healthy anymore, and what was okay before is not suck-upable anymore.
Suck-upable, I love that.
Well, it begs the question. All of this stuff begs the question. Like, first of all, everyone's favorite argument is if you have nothing to hide, then what are you worried about? And it's not that.
Right.
What it is first of all, why do you need so much information, and what have you done that has made so many people so angry that you have to check everyone's email? Like, what is the actual cause of all this that never gets addressed? Like, whenever we're talking about how this group hates us, or that group hates us, or this group is playing, why? Right. Why? What did we? What did quote unquote we do?
I want to go with what you said, though. If you have nothing to hide, because I was trying to get a show out before I came here, and I failed miserably. But one of the things I was going to talk about, did you see that story? The lawsuit filed from that incident in New Mexico with the driver who didn't do the full stop at leaving Walmart. You saw it, right? Right. So the police pull him over for California stopping the stop sign, decide that he looks like he's clenching his buttocks in a weird way. And this is the part I love. Goes to a judge and says to the judge, while this guy's sitting on the side of the road, he's clenching his buttocks in a weird way. I think we have somebody trying to hide drugs in there. And the judge goes, I guess, judging from the story, yeah, that would be probable cause. So they take this guy to a doctor who refuses to do what the police officers are asking. So they got to go to another doctor. 14 hours of anal cavity searches, enemas. They sedated him and did a colonoscopy. They examined his stuff right in front of him. 14 hours, found nothing, x-rayed him multiple times, found nothing, and then apparently sent him a $6,000 bill for the procedure. So when you say, what have you got to hide unless you're hiding? That's what can happen to you. And not just that. What I love is the police department spokesman said, we didn't do anything wrong. This is policy, and we had a judge sign off on it. So when you say, if you have nothing to hide, what do you care? This guy had nothing to hide, and that happened to him.
He clearly did, because he was clenching his butt in a weird way. You know?
I know, but now if that story is true, and the lawsuit claims witnesses and all this kind of stuff, and the police officers think nothing was wrong there, that's what happens to you when you get rid of these protections that keep you from being searched willy-nilly or anything like that.
Shit, after a story like that, everyone in the world who's going to be stopped by the police is going to clench his butt in a weird way, because just the fear of this story is like, oh shit, it's not the colonoscopy. No.
You're going to get people that are butt freaks, and that's what they're into. They're into cops checking them out. They hide treasures up there, put secrets up there.
I didn't mean to take the conversation in that direction.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Direction.
It's a great direction. It's hilarious. It's fucked up that if you search someone's ass for 14 hours and there's nothing up there, that guy should be able to search yours for 28. That should be the rule. He should be able to throw firecrackers in there. And I mean, come on, man. You checked his ass for no reason. Like, you owe him something.
What bothers me about that is that there's no penalty that actually affects the people who did this. In other words, if this guy wins his big lawsuit against him, that's the taxpayers who are going to pay that. The people who did it don't suffer at all.
Yeah. Which leads me to believe you and I had exchanged a couple tweets and emails regarding this Michael Hastings thing, and how fascinating that whole story was. Michael Hastings, the journalist who was very aggressive towards members of the military, and
he was aggressive toward everybody, I think.
Yes, very aggressive, and aggressive towards like these guys who are fucking killers on a global scale. You know, when you get to be a 4-star general or what have you, like, you're fucking real good at killing people.
Yeah.
You know, there's no other way around it. No other way to get to that. And this guy was being aggressive towards them.
Have you changed your mind on? Have you altered your view on that at all?
I have zero opinion. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I looked at it, watched the video of the car slamming into the tree, and I thought, wow, that was most likely, some sort of a remote-controlled device that caused him to slam. That's when I started reading that people said that. But I've also read that a lot of people believe that he was unstable, and a lot of people believe that he might have been doing drugs. That's possible, too. I mean, the kind of guy who's so risk-taking that he's willing to go after generals, like, that kind of guy might do a lot of wild shit. Right. I think it's possible, though, that they can do that to a car. I think that's what I've gained from this. What I've gained from this is by reading the experts, the technology experts, the people that have no vested interest in this politically one way or the other, weren't a Hastings fan or denier, the people that looked at the possibilities for what you can do with a remote-controlled system in a car now, and they can do it. They can make your car do things, and the people that were formerly in the CIA have come out about it and said that they believe that the technology exists, and it makes sense. And the real desire to know one way or another is just a natural part of human curiosity. We want to know, did someone assassinate this guy, or did he go wacky and drive 100 miles an hour into a tree? Both are possible. Sure. The reality is, I don't know, and so. You know, when you say, did I change my opinion? I don't have an opinion. When I first looked at it, and I said, wow, that looks like that, but I wouldn't be betting on it. Right. You know, a lot of weird shit happens just naturally. I've heard of...
There's another element, Joe. The element is an us versus them kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, we felt, people like yours truly, anyway, felt like Hastings was on our side of the fence, right? He's reporting on stuff that we're going, thank goodness, finally somebody's doing this, right? Right. And then all of a sudden he's gone, and in a weird situation, I mean, I think the tendency is to say, one of our guys got it in the neck, and he got it in the neck for doing something that we've been waiting for someone to do. And what does this say to the other people out there we would hope would? So, I mean, I don't want to say teams, but there's a part of me that says, to me, I don't know if I would have liked the guy on a personal level, but he was on my side.
Yes.
And I feel like, God, the powers that be have everybody on their side. I mean, so I mean, there was a feeling like, please tell me that somebody working for the good of all of us didn't get knocked off. I don't think he did, but there's certainly that feeling where you just go, what sort of a message does this send to other would-be Michael Hastings?
You don't think he did, but would you be surprised if you found out he did? If he did get you found out he got knocked out, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's a book called Poisoning the Press concerning a reporter who was the Michael Hastings of his day, but 1,000 times bigger, named Jack Anderson from the early 70s. And Anderson actually had the Nixon administration officials, Haldeman, Ehrlichman, those guys, talking about potentially killing him. A guy whose show I was on several times, G. Gordon Liddy.
Yeah.
Liddy was volunteering to kill him. They were going to run him over with a car. Now, I always think to myself, okay, so the plot never happened, but they were discussing it at the highest levels of government, and that's what makes you go, maybe this Hastings thing isn't that far off the wall. I mean,
I don't think it's far off the wall at all. I just don't know what happened.
Yeah.
No, me either. Not at all. And I tend to go with the safer answer when in doubt. You know?
Sure. I mean, that's the nice way of not looking stupid, too.
Which is, of course, my goal in life, right?
It's too late for me.
Too late, exactly. Me too.
So I just dive right into the stupid side all the time and go, what if? Because the what if is always there.
That's what they're grading us on a curve.
Well, that's the unfortunate reality of history, isn't it? That if you really do pay attention, you go, well, they've done it before. Well, there's been, people have conspired. They've gotten away with it. They did. They did false flags. They lied to get us into wars. They lied about certain actions that were going on. They assassinated people, lied about that, and then got caught. And
they had a short-term incentive. Same thing.
Yes. Always has been. That's a thing we're missing in our social circles. It's a thing we're missing in life. People get attached to ideologies. Yep. Like what you were saying, well, people will say one way or another and then just fucking argue it to death. I know Michael Hastings was killed by the CIA.
And then your credibility's on the line and everything.
Yeah, whether it's Bigfoot or fucking UFOs or being a Republican. Right. There's people that get on a fucking team and they will, and those people are a problem. They're a problem to themselves.
They're a huge problem politically, too. Yeah. Because as I said, it doesn't hurt us that one party does something. But then when we forgive it when our party, whatever party that might be, gets in power, there are Democrats who if George W. Bush was doing what President Obama is doing, would be out in the streets with signs. But because it's their guy, they don't, and vice versa.
That's such a good point, and one that I really get on progressives and left-wing people about. I'm like, your acceptance of war crimes done under Democratic administration, the idea of the same exact things being done under the Republican administration would be horrific war crimes, and the acceptance of them is so gross and so telling.
And codifies the whole thing you were so against when the other guy was doing it, because now you don't have a leg to stand on. When the Republicans go back in office and do this, what are you going to say? You're going to complain about it again then?
It reinforces the idea of this being a fucking simulation, and that's all designed.
I'm liking that idea more and more.
It's the yin and yang. It's the theater. It's the two-party system. Right. So it's like they brought in a fourth party, but it's too confusing. People didn't know what to follow anymore. They started tuning into different channels. As soon as that Perot character came along and fucking threw a big monkey wrench into the whole situation, it's too much. Let's go back to two and a fringy.
That's why we haven't had a third person at those presidential debates since.
Yeah, well, the Commission for Presidential Debates, a privately funded institution.
With half Democrats and half Republicans on their staff.
It's hilarious. And they try so hard to make sure that weirdos don't get in. The Gary Johnsons of the world, the people that are going to throw.
Can I ask this, though? Why are they all weirdos? Because I keep feeling like that's almost like part of the rigged thing, that if you have somebody who has some ideas, you go, finally, somebody's saying the right thing about this, and they also go, yes, but I'm also a secret Klan member, just so you know. And you go, what? Why do they always have to come with some baggage like that?
That's because you're not doing it.
That's
right. Again, Carlin for president.
My Nazi newsletters from the past will all come back to haunt me, right?
Well, I think that the only type of people that have the balls to step out like that are socially a little wacky. For everybody else, it's a big risk.
Didn't we talk
the roof of the General Duke.
But to get back to the point is, how come whenever you get someone who's saying some important things in a halfway, decent way, they have to come. People say to me all the time, "Well, we vote all the time, Dan. The course the country's on is based on voters voting for people." How come when we get somebody who would like to change course in a direction most of us would like to see, half of them is really fantastic, and the other half of them is so crazy you'd never elect a person like that in a million years? Why can't we have somebody who has some common sense and doesn't sound like that? It out.
But you're right. It is funny that these people, they have to be
we can't have a Fourth Amendment person who's not I mean, I guess you do. You got guys like Wyden and Udall and some of these people, but when you get somebody who's a real lightning rod for this stuff, and you think, finally, we've been waiting for a guy like this forever, they come with these poison pills that you just can't swallow.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality of the control that has been exerted on the political climate. I mean, the fact that the two-party system exists just shows you how much power the people that are in power, the people that are running things, how much they've actually been able to exert on our system. They've locked it down to two parties that are both often supported by the exact same corporations.
George Carlin said you know exactly how many people you have to bribe.
Yeah, Bill Hicks had the best bit. He's like, he goes, well, I like the puppet on the left. He's more to my liking. Well, the puppet on the right supports my beliefs. Hey, wait a minute. There's one guy holding both puppets. I mean, that was like his description of America. That's a really good one.
How come we don't get it then, Joe? This is what I don't understand, is that if we're going to work toward this awareness and if we're going to get better and more involved and enlightened, how do we not see through that scam? That would be like first scam you have to see through to get to anywhere, and we don't see through that one.
Well, smart people that are on the Democratic side are partially to blame, just as much as people on the conservative side. But on the Democratic side, I've heard so many people use the term "we," like we need to get into office, or we need to get more of this, or we control the House. I'm like, we, like Hollywood people. I have had maddening conversations with people in Hollywood that use the term "we" to describe the Democratic Party.
Right.
And I'm like, they're not you, dude. They're not you by a long stretch. And you perpetrating this stupidity. I understand that you work 12 hours a day and you don't have the time to investigate this thoroughly, but you pretending to be a smart guy and going with this team, we need to do that. And we need, like, how much of what they're doing are you really fucking paying attention to? Because this Democratic Party that's in charge right now is as Republican as it gets when it comes to whistleblowers, as Republican as it gets when it comes to giving rights to corporations that are the same rights that used to be attributed to individuals.
Yep.
All the things that we were afraid of during the Bush administration are all being done to a much the attacks on whistleblowers to a much larger degree. The attacks on secrecy and privacy, much larger than has ever been exhibited before. Those are all Republican ideas. So when do they become Democratic ideas? And also, it's a giant group of people. In order to play politics, you have to appease certain groups, and you have to be very good socially at this sort of give-and-take system that they've put into place, the cronyism system. I mean, when you look at that all these people that are lobbyists live in Virginia, that's right outside of D.C., and they come in, and there's all this money concentrated on making things happen there, it's totally against the concept of we the people. It's totally against the concept of the interests of the individual, the interests of the greater good of the society as a whole. It's totally against that. It's against it, and it's transparent, and it's right in everybody's face.
But I think a lot of people do get it. Like, I don't think it's an issue of lacking awareness, at least now. If you talk 30 years ago, you had maybe a different story. But post-Nixon, ever since, confidence in government has been collapsing sharply, confidence in the political system, everybody to some degree or another hates it, feel like, it's corrupt. I think there is a level of awareness of that. What there isn't is then what do we do about it? That part is we have the knowledge that this thing sucks, but what can I or my neighbor or the next guy do to change this? What steps could be taken? And that's when people go,
don't you think more people know it sucks now than ever before?
Yeah.
And more people know why it sucks now.
Well, and you know what this ties something else up in a bow we talked about earlier with the fracking and the environmental damage and everything else. Part of the problem we have, too, is we have a system here in the United States that is designed to be moderate and not radical, which sounds fine most of the time. But if you put off problems long enough, the solutions that are moderate to fix them are no longer useful. I mean, if your house is slipping on its foundation and you get to it early, maybe a little bit of money and a little bit of work and you can fix that. If you put that off 10, 15 years, the solution to that problem is a lot more radical. We have put off a lot of huge problems in this country and solving them for so long that the solutions are so radical that we have a system that is just geared to tamping down that sort of radicalism. But what does that mean if that's what it takes to fix some of the problems?
That's a very interesting point. And then there's the idea that we're going to come up with some way in the future to clean up all the mess that we've created in the
we'll
past.
Fix it later. Something will be invented.
Technology will take care of it.
All we need to do is get our backs against the wall, because that's when America's at its best.
That's right.
We got our back against the wall. I'll tell you what, we come out swinging.
The better mousetrap will emerge.
We come out swinging. We're going to make some GMO fish that eat plastic and send them bitches out there, and then we got all our problems solved. We're going to have the greatest population of fish in the history of the fucking ocean, because we're going to have plastic-eating fish that we've made in the lab. They got a steel lining to their stomach, and they run on fossil fuels.
Forced consciousness expansion. Maybe they will prompt the awareness by putting the hallucinogenics in the water, and there you go.
Well, a lot of people believe that they came in asteroids, Dan Carlin. they came from other planets. There's
It's a
apparently
simulation. There are no other planets.
there's a